Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the 8-Bit Adventures podcast. Uh, Sorry if I sound a little worse for wear, but I am your host, Sean Hayes, here with episode 335. Um, for folks watching the video, apparently some of my processes on my Stream Deck got a little messed up, likely with a recent OBS update. So I will have to do some diagnostics to figure out what's going on with those. But for audio listeners, no problems here. So this is the 8-Bit Adventures podcast, here to bring you the latest and greatest gaming news of the past week. I apologize. I really wanted to do an episode last week, folks, but God, I either caught something new or an illness that I had kind of resurfaced. And I was just like constant coughing, and it was just like an awful dry cough. I was exhausted. I did not sound good. And so, like I had topics all lined up, and like I kept trying. I was like, the plan was to do it Friday night, and I was like, I'm not going to do it. I don't feel great. I'm like, I'm going to do it Saturday night. And then Saturday night, I felt even worse. And I'm like, I can't keep pushing it back. So, unfortunately, that's what happened. And I was just like, I'm just going to give up. But that said, we are here this week. So, and we've got some lovely topics this week. So, doing a little bit of something new is that I've got some news topics, but I also wanted to do some reviews of games that I have been playing. So this may be a new thing. I can't promise that we'll do it for every episode, because sometimes it takes me a while to play games. These just happen to be two quick games, much shorter games that I was able to do. So that's why I wanted to do something. And a friend of the show said was very interested to hear my thoughts on one of them. So hope everyone's had a great week. And sorry if my voice is a little raspy. It's again still been coughing. And so although like I haven't totally lost my voice, it has affected my voice. So I'm trying to stay hydrated. We did just finish a Dagger Heart session tonight, so that's also part of it. So voice may be a little overworked, but and the reason for changing the live episodes to Friday night from Saturday morning is because my son's doing Saturday morning soccer, and that's pretty much the reason. And I was like, and I also would rather not have to rush around on Saturday morning. We've always got something going on. And so it feels like me doing a show kind of gets in the way of that. So I'd rather just do it Friday night. Everybody's already gone to bed, so it just works out a bit better for my schedule. I just have to get healthy again, which is the struggle of a person with an autoimmune disease. So hooray for me. But enough about that. How about we get into the news for this week so that we can get going? 'Cause I'm really excited to talk about this stuff. So first up, Supergiant's latest release, Hades 2, is now available on Steam and Switch 1 and 2. This is not a game that I'm going to do a review of, although I have been playing it because, it came out yesterday. So, maybe for next week, I'll have put in enough playtime to be able to weigh more thoughts in on it. It's great. It runs really well on Switch 2. The art style is still superb. I think it keeps it does like a fresh new take on the gameplay. Like some of the, mechanics systems that they put in there are an interesting take. And like there's some stuff that kind of serves the same niche as different things in the original Hades, but it does like a new spin on it, which I think is really good. It is a true sequel. I don't want to give away any of the plot, because again, I am coming into this fresh. I didn't play it at all during early access on Steam. So I'm coming in without any prior knowledge. And I don't want to spoil anything for anybody. But it is a true sequel, and I'll leave it at that. I love the interactions between the characters, and the way the gods and goddesses have changed from the first game to the second is also really interesting. And just like sometimes their attitudes have changed a little bit. Sometimes their character design has changed a little bit. I think we see new ones show up. I also feel like certain ones are gone now as well. Like, I haven't run into Dionysus at all, and that makes me a little sad because that was one of my go-to gods for boons in the last game. But yeah, I'm having a blast. I'm looking forward to it. It also seems to be a lot harder than the first game. Like I am pretty consistently getting through sort of the first area, but I have hit a brick wall going through the second zone, where I can get all the way up to the boss and I cannot get past the second boss. So that's a little surprising for me. I also don't know, like there doesn't seem to be like a bow so I use the bow a lot in Hades 1, and there doesn't seem to be an equivalent weapon for that. And that's kind of throwing me off a little bit. But I'm looking forward to playing more of this game. If you've been playing it and you want to share your thoughts, hit me up and let me know on social media. It's just, I'm so glad that we are continuing to get such high quality releases from Supergiant. Because if I recall, I'm pretty sure they're one of the studios that like tries to limit crunch, and tries to do things like very sustainably and ethically. So yeah, good for them. Absolutely good for them. Next up, Ravensburger announced that Lorcana is going to get basically a judge training program that is in the works from now through Q1 2026. From now through December so basically from starting now through the rest of the year, they're going to work on what's known as Core, which is, oh geez, I knew I was going to forget, but it's an acronym. But and of course, because they call it Core Constructed, that's what. So anyway, the important part is it's like an organized play rules document that goes over like what you're doing and like rules and policies for organized play. It's been a long criticism that Lorcana does not have a judge training program or does not have a judge program at all. It's up to tournament organizers to try and find people who are qualified. This will have sort of a certification process. I'm looking forward to it. I've considered trying to learn how to do it myself. So I think once this is formalized and in place, it might be something that I'm interested in doing. But yeah. So, and there will be like play correction guides, tournament rules. And there will be like badges to signify, I guess, like different levels of certification. So yeah, I think the game needs this. And I think having like a standardized set of policies and a training program to get everybody on the same page can only help the game with organized play. So yeah, very excited to see that. I'm very excited to see what's involved with the training certification. Because I might be interested in doing it myself. I think especially if it's the case where like if my deck falls out of the meta and if there's something that doesn't really interest me, I mean, I think I would rather, I don't know, like especially if it's something where if I do it for my local store, and I don't know, I'm just speculating here. Like if there's like if it's a way to get like store credit for offering to do it, or if it's just done on a volunteer basis. But like, if it's a thing where like you could earn store credit for offering to judge things, like I might do that instead of playing. Like if I know I'm not gonna do well in a tournament, but I could judge instead and like still participate that way, and help out, like that might be more interesting for me. And to help other people learn the game too. Because that's what I really like. I love bringing new people into the game and growing our community. So yeah, very excited about that. Next up, Game Informer reports that Doug Bowser is going to retire at the end of the year. Taking over is Devin Pritchard. She's been with Nintendo of America in like the marketing division for like 20 years, 20 plus years. She will take over as president and chief operating officer. So this continues the tradition of Nintendo of America presidents being promoted from marketing. So notably, chief executive office, the chief executive officer of Nintendo of America will be someone from Nintendo proper. So I don't quite know what the relationship will be between like president and CEO. But that said, I mean, Nintendo of America pretty much exists as like a localization and marketing team. So, and some customer service support. Although one of the things that was going to be a news topic for last week was there's a whole customer service shakeup going on at Nintendo of America that's like not for the better, where a lot of folks were suddenly laid off, and the ones who are still there now have to train their replacements who are in South America. And what they're finding is like there's difficulties with language barriers, that the folks coming in don't have the experience that a lot of these veterans who have been doing customer service for Nintendo of America like for decades. And so like there's certain things that you learn the ins and outs of over time. And it's in a weird spot because they're contractors. And so like they're not technical employees, and so it gets into a weird thing. But anyways, yeah. So Doug Bowser retiring as of December 31st, 2025, will be succeeded by Devin Pritchard. So we'll see. I mean, it's definitely a case where prior to Doug Bowser, we had Reggie Fils-Aimé, who was very in front of the camera, Wanted to get out there, wanted to be very visible. Doug Bowser, not so much. I think for Nintendo Directs, like, I think he's maybe showed up on like one or two, one of which being the initial announcement of his appointment. But yeah, very, very not in front of the camera, very, very behind the scenes. So I don't know what path, what strategy they're going to take with Pritchard. So we'll have to see. My hope is that they go back to doing like a goofier stuff in marketing. I would love to see that. But I don't know. I don't know if we're gonna get that. And now with our final piece of news. Oh no. Oh, I forgot to put the slide in here. Well, too late now. So, Game Informer reports there's a crossover in the works with Mega Man and Sonic Racing Cross Worlds. Has been announced for Sega's new racing title. Very aggressive crossover strategy. Seems like, with the name Cross Worlds, kind of seems like the whole point. And so Sega's been doing, like, they have crossovers planned with like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. There was one planned with some like unspecified Nickelodeon property. Oh geez. There's a list of like 10 to 12 other properties that Sega like had already put in the pipeline. This is super aggressive. So part of the crossover includes including Mega Man and Zero as racers. It'll have oh geez. His dog's gonna be like one of the vehicles. And then I think there's like a Mega Man track that's gonna be put in. So yeah, I have not played Sonic Racing Cross Worlds. I hear it's really good. So if you have it, there's a ton of content being added to that. To the point that like I will be very surprised if like Mario Kart World doesn't have some kind of like content strategy for additional tracks and stuff. Like, I feel like now's the time to announce whether you plan on including that or not. And like because like for the price that they're selling it, there's not a lot to it. I will admit that. You really have to like what you have. And my hope is that they do the same DLC strategy where if you have a Nintendo Switch Online subscription, plus the expansion pass or whatever, that you'll get that DLC for free. I think if they do that and they do a similarly aggressive sort of DLC package, that could make up for the price point. Because right now they've got a lot of pressure from this game. So, all right. So now, let's switch gears a bit, and let's talk about Final Fantasy 1 specifically. I played the Pixel remaster. So, I have never played Final Fantasy 1 through 6 before. This is shocking to many, I know. I'm sure. My first Final Fantasy was either 7, which I played on PC, um, or it was like Tactics Advance. Um, so I saw the Pixel Remaster bundle was on sale, and I thought I've got to remedy that. And so I did. So, in full disclosure, I did use some of the quality of life features. I did turn off random encounters. Uh, I did when trying to grind gold around Elfheim. I did turn on, ×4 gold gain. I did turn on ×4 experience gain. When I got to the end of the game and discovered that I had to grind a bunch of levels right outside the boss room. So keep that in mind. I found it pleasantly charming. It's one of those where, I can see why it was so widely regarded back in the day. I can also see why some folks would have a problem playing it, vanilla nowadays. It's very reliant on random encounters to kind of keep things as like a balancing factor. But yeah, I thought it was neat. I kind of like how they do the magic system. Of you equipping spells at various levels and then basically having spell slot. It's very D&D, with the exception that you have to buy the spells. But yeah, I thought equipping them to slots and then having essentially spell slots was interesting for an RPG, especially since like they've moved towards like an MP system now, where it's just like spells and you just spend from a pool of MP. So, I mean, story wise, like it's bare bones compared to games from this day and age, but like I've still seen a lot worse. And the Warriors of Light concept is still pretty good. I mean, the party that I went with was based on my player's D&D party, from like our sort of years long campaign. But it consisted of a warrior, who upgraded to knight, a monk who upgraded to grandmaster, white mage who upgraded to white wizard, and red mage who upgraded to red wizard. So I did not use a black mage. I'm trying to think of what else is in there. I think that's it. Yeah, I don't know if there's another like, and rogue or thief or whatever. Yeah, I didn't do black mage or thief. So, and that was fun. I used guides to figure out where to go. But like, back in the day, I would have also used a guide. So like, that's how I play. I'm not ashamed to admit that I use, game aids to help me get through games. But yeah, it was nice to experience like a little slice of history. And take like a look back and see where certain conventions in Final Fantasy started. Although I didn't get some of the quirks of like spells being renamed and having funky spellings because of NES like character limits and things like that. So I did miss out on that. But just being able to go through and and experience the story, it was pretty cool. So, I mean, I don't know. So if you were to purchase it separately from the bundle, full price is $12. I don't know if it's worth $12 in this day and age. But again, I mean, I got it as part of the bundle. I was really looking at like getting 4, 5, and 6, but those at their discounted price was only like $10 cheaper than just getting the full bundle. And I was like, well, then I might as well just pick up the other 3 games for like $3 each. So yeah. Picture quality looked good. It ran a little rough in certain places. Of just like weird screen issues. But yeah, it was overall a very pleasant thing. I think I put maybe like 12 hours into it. I don't know, maybe it was even less than that, but yeah, so it's a fairly short game if like you know what you're doing. And if you use the quality of life controls to like speed up grinding, which I did have to do. I needed to grind about 25 levels at the end of the game. And then I had to grind like a little bit of gold just to get by magic, which then it turns out later on, like, you know, I didn't really need to do. I was generating so much money that like I ended the game with far too much than it ever intended you to have. So yeah, overall, I'm gonna give it a thumbs up. But I'm more excited for a lot of the later iterations where they actually do like job systems and all a wild cast of characters and a much more involved story. So that are my thoughts on the Final Fantasy 1 Pixel Remaster. Next up, Metal Slug Tactics. So this is a roguelike tactical adaptation of like the Metal Slug series. This is an interesting tactics game. So this game wants you constantly moving around the battlefield, which is not necessarily something that you do in a lot of tactics games. Like typically, you know, if they use cover mechanics, like you want to find cover and then just stay there and like never leave because like you want to kind of like hunker down and turtle and like attack from cover so that you have protection. In this game, if you don't move at all on your turn, you're actively penalized for that. They want you to move as far as you can to like generate defensive bonuses. And then it's coupled with the fact that it's intended to be very short, bite-sized runs where you get random unlockable upgrades, which is the roguelike element to it. The soundtrack is pretty good. The art style is fantastic. I love it. It does like a pixel art style. The animation's pretty smooth. And Metal Slug has always had this very iconic look to it where it's like it's pixel art, but it's like very detailed. While still having like a stylized, you know, cartoonish style. And it looks great. You know, the story, there's not much of a story to it. But the boss fights are very interesting. And using a lot of mechanics where like they destroy terrain, they destroy parts of the map. You got to get off that, or it's an instant death. But this was a lot of fun. I saw this in a Nintendo Direct, and it came out like last year. Saw it in a Nintendo Direct. I was like, I gotta get it. So full disclosure, I've never played Metal Slug. You know, I always saw it in the arcades, but like I never played it myself. So I'm coming in without any you know history with the franchise. And like I picked it up, you know, picked up the mechanics right away, and absolutely, you know, fell in love with this game. So yeah, like I didn't unlock all of the characters, but it does get to a certain point where, weirdly enough, like you're incentivized to like try and speed run through the game to unlock all of the characters. And I found it was like I wanted to get more of the story, in which case, like, you have to play all of the areas instead of speed running your way through. So there was like a little bit of a conflict there. And then just like seeing how different characters operate. I wish there were more elements of like unlocking progression. That is missing from like a true roguelike, where like you really are like outside of unlocking more characters and maybe unlocking more potential mods for your abilities and for weapons and stuff. There isn't really like anything that you can do to improve your character, like the characters that you pick. So that is a little disappointing. You know, I like feeling like I'm making progression, and it's like if I make it all the way and I beat the final boss, and then, you know, on the next run, like I just do it again, you know, but not necessarily like faster or feeling like I have some sort of progression. That is a little bit of a turnoff. Yeah, all in all, I encourage any fan of tactics games, you gotta try this out. If I recall, I think it's relatively cheap. But especially, I was playing on Switch 2, so it runs great. I don't know if it's going to have any performance issues on like Switch 1, or if it was made for Switch 1 and therefore like it runs pretty well on Switch 2. But yeah, it was a nice change of pace. And like the main, like, you can beat the game in like a few hours. You know, depending on how efficient you are at doing the missions. So, and that's on the easiest difficulty. They do have multiple difficulties. I didn't do the higher ones, so I don't have any opinion on that. But doing it on the, like, the easiest difficulties, there was still enough of a challenge for me. But it was mostly, I was looking for something quick to play in between finishing Donkey Kong Bonanza and like before Final Fantasy Tactics, the Ivalice Chronicles came out. Because I was like, I don't want to get involved in like another massive RPG or another game that like is going to require me to sit here and plunker down for like a month to finish it. When, like, you know, I have like 2 weeks. So I was like, what can I play? You know, and this was there. It was in my backlog, and it was like, here, play me. And I was like, okay, cool. And what a great experience that was. So if you're a fan of tactics games, or if you're a fan of Metal Slug, check it out. Again, thumbs up. Gets my endorsement. So that is going to wrap things up for this evening. Thank you all for joining me. If you want to hear more stuff from 8-Bit Adventures, be sure to check out 8-bitadventures.com or 8bitadventures.com. Just make sure you use the number 8. If you want to help support that content, the best way to do that is become a Patreon, or is to become a patron over at patreon.com/8bitadventures. Big shout out and thank you to all my current patrons for your continued support. And hopefully, I would love to start doing more for you. But we are getting into sort of second job season. So, you know, we'll see. Finally, our opening theme is One Up by Professor Shy Guy. You can find his work over at professorshyguy.bandcamp.com. And with that, folks, that's all she wrote. So, hope you all have a pleasant week. Hopefully, I can kick whatever this thing afflicting me is, and that my voice gets a lot better. So, as always, have fun, happy gaming, and enjoy your pie cake.